this week's webinar. My name is Craig Schulze. I'll be conducting your diamond training session for this week. I guess it's a really important time of the year, especially in Australia. So it's nearly an international only guest book today, as we're doing the Instantly Ageless launch tomorrow. And I was looking over my Facebook this morning and everyone started to fly in from all over Australia. We've got a sold out event here of around 1,000 people here tomorrow in Australia. So most of our Australian team are on their way. I do recognise a few of our Aussie guys on board, but we do nearly have a full international guest list on today's event. So what I'm going to talk about today is I recently did this training in our Noosa Leadership Retreat. It was very well received, so I thought it's a perfect topic to talk about. And it's your 2015 game plan. I understand that we are well and truly into 2015 now, but it doesn't matter whether I'm talking about this as your 2016, 2017, 2018. The only thing that really changes are the dates. So the different, focuses may be quite relevant to Australia and may be quite relevant to business in 2015. But if I was planning for my 2016 business, or I lived in a different market like a European market or an American market or whatever, I would still follow the same philosophies and principles. So I'm going to give you a live example of how I mapped out my game plan for 2015, but understand that this is the concept, the philosophies are the same. You just need to roll it into your market. This was specifically done for the Australian leaders at the Australian Leadership Retreat. I love this slide. It's standing on at the Grand Canyon there, and I always say to people, building a network is hard work, but guess what? It's worth it. And I always talk about my story and my transformation over a 3.5 year period, where I'm thinking back the other day, just taking a seat back and thinking, wow, what a transformation it's really been over a 3.5 year period. It's such a short part of time. This journey's been a short part of time in my lifespan. I'm thinking 3.5 years ago, if I was to fast forward on day one of joining Jeunesse and thinking if you achieve what you are currently today, would you do all the steps that you've done to get to that level? The answer is always yes, because your other alternative is what I call the 40-40 plan. 40 hours a week for 40 years, not much fun grinding away doing that. So, this industry is extremely hard work, but it's very simple industry. It's a matter of exposing enough people to some amazing information. And I use this as a bit of a blueprint. This time last year, my business, and we've got to go back a little bit because our event was in March. My business, March 2014, was around a 300 cycle a month, very solid Ruby business. At that sort of level of business, you certainly have lots of choices and you are working full time and living probably life on your terms. But you think about, and this is why I ran this training. I sort of did this exact, formula this time 12 months ago. 12 months on, there's nearly 5 to 6 times growth in my business. And, it's not just a diamond-sized business now. It's well and truly, it's above even nearly qualifications of a double diamond. You only need 1,500 cycles for that. And I always talk about, just following a blueprint, following a plan and sticking to the course. And, everybody's business is at different stages. So some people might be just getting started. So it's very, it's not necessarily going to be a mirror of this, but if you put in the same, minimum daily activities, focus on the same activities, the only way for you to go is forward and achieve, progress. And if you're in stage one of your business, you're laying foundations a lot more than capitalizing on momentum in your business. So everyone's going to have a little bit of different, but I guess my business just has really got to, I guess, beyond foundational stage at 300 cycles. You got momentum. Now you've got leaders, and you're taking those leaders to the next level. And a lot has happened in that time. And for me, for those that know me well, I had my own challenges last year. I had a few personal things happen to me in my life, which a lot of people would have give up. A lot of people would quit, because I guess they were the pinnacle of life in regards to life and death. When you lose your little baby boy, before he gets a chance to, have a chance on earth, that's a challenge, and it can roadblock people. And I wanted to point this out in this slide that, I looked at my business at that point in time. I had a good business, but a lot of people would have went the other way and their business would have plateaued. But I looked at it as a form of inspiration, and I wanted to give it my very best shot and make people proud of what I've done. And it's a 12-month on. I'm living not just life on my terms now. I have different choices. I just drew a line in the sand. It was the start of the year. It was a tragedy to triumph type of year for me. And, a distributor said to me, stuff happens in life. I would rather be in Jeunesse and around positive people, supportive people, than not in Jeunesse, when stuff is happening in your life. So don't ever use that as your excuse to not, live life on your terms. So as I always say, who wants to make this year their best year ever? There's still plenty of time left in this year to take your business from starting to laying incredible foundations, having incredible foundations into capitalizing on emerging leaders, taking emerging leaders to help them live life on their terms to allow you to do whatever it is that you want. That's what we always say. This business is not easy. And when I say it's not easy, it's just because you're dealing with humans. You're dealing with people, their emotions, but it's very simple. You're just focusing on exposing information, focusing on getting better at presenting and delivering information. And then if you can help as many people do the same and help them get what they want, you always get what you want. I just really focused on what works and stayed focused. So here is, and I guess before I get into my direct game plan for 2015, I always like to give people an understanding of what I call the law of the few. I could give someone a winning lotto ticket and they will still be broke 12 months later. I could give someone the absolute exact blueprint that I followed, every single meeting that I attended, every single person that I enrolled, every single person that I called up. I could give them all of that, and there'll always be this law of a few. There'll be 20% that go, right, I am in a position that in my life where I'm prepared to make the sacrifices to do exactly that. And then there's the 80% of people that, they'll actually go, I know that works, but I'm not prepared to do that. And it seems to just, this 80-20 breakdown seems to just show up in so many aspects of life. I'm going to show you the exact KPIs, the exact tasks, the exact skills, the exact blueprint to be successful. It doesn't matter what I show or teach or do, even if it's 100%, including my phone records of how many calls, 20% will follow that formula. And if you roll that into any, I guess, niche, whether it's education, 20% of the population, well, you get 100% that participate in some form of education. Then you get a lot of people drop out before higher education, and then you get a lot of people drop out before you go to university-based education, and then you get a lot of people drop out again that go to get a double degree or like two degrees or that sort of master's or PhD level. People will always drop out. If you have that as an absolute goal, is to become an academic, everyone goes to get an education, but less than 5% probably become that high-end academic. If you look at sport, the same applies. The difference, a lot of people as a child participate in sport, and as you roll through, you get those few people that really want to become elite at that level. Corporate career, everyone goes to work, get a job, get paid, and then you get the elite that do the things required to become that executive, or someone that's got an incredible corporate career. It doesn't really matter what sort of different, I guess, area you look at. This really happens in every single way of life. If you look at finance, statistics show that 80% of the population get by, 20% of the population get by financially okay, and then you got 80% of the population relying on friends, family, government support, or they just don't get by. So that seems to crop up all the time. So this is what works. This is what worked for me last year to take my business. It's exactly the same as what I'll be doing in 2015, and it'll be the exact same thing as what I do in 2016, 17, and 18, but the dates will just change. If the conference is in June, my build up to conference will start in a different time frame. Everything will change based around the dates and the events of the company. So the first thing I always do, revisit the preliminary tasks. The preliminary tasks, go back to your training ground. You go back and really have a look at assessing your business. And I did a diamond training on this a couple of months ago. So I did how to assess your business. And I went through what you need to know, what you need to do. Have a look at the numbers of leaders in your left leg and your right leg. And, it was a 30-minute in-depth training of how to assess your business. So what I would say to people, it's time to revisit and go back and reassess your business so you know exactly where you're working from. If you've only got one leader working in one side of your business and 5 in the other side, until you can get 5 leaders that are driving their own businesses in each side, you are always still only going to be laying foundations. All right. Time management. This is really important, where a lot of people let themselves down. This is a part of preliminary planning. What is it that you really want to achieve? You really need to revisit that, what it is you want to achieve, and how important is it to you? Because this industry can be a lonely place. Working from home, you've got no boss telling you what to do. You've got to be self-inspired for success. So how important is this? That's going to be like that inner driver for you. If it is to get out of your current situation, if it is to, live the life of someone else, let's say, or whatever that is for you, you really need to tap into that, because when you get the challenges of 10 people not interested in a row, you always revisit that situation and go, I want this more than the challenges. So you got to find out what it is that you want. Now, importantly, everyone has a list. Time to revisit your list. Get your list back down in paper. Go back to the very first person. Reshare the vision. If you've been in the business for 12 months, there's been different products introduced, and there's been different countries open. There's been different videos introduced. There's been different marketing. There's been different Jeunesse stories that have happened. There's so many different things that have happened. Your business may have moved forward another 20, 30, 40%, and you can see clearer vision of Jeunesse. Now go back to the first person that you contacted. Go back and say, hey, I spoke to you 2 years ago. Just want to give you a quick update. I'm not sure what you're doing or if timing's changed now, but I just, one of my mentors, he set a challenge to go back and re-speak to every single person that I've ever spoken to. So I want to just give you a quick update. I hope you got a spare 5 minutes. If it's not a good time now, can I call you back at, give him 3 other choices? And, you really want to, revisit your list again. Not only am what I'm telling you on this call to do, but make sure if you've got 6 leaders in your business, they're not on this call, they were not at the leadership retreat, that you're taking notes here, because you want your 6 leaders to go back to their very first person they called. Because that's when you can get your business on turbocharge. If you can have 6 leaders working the business, and they're all going back to their first person, they're all going to recall everyone, that's when your business can really, really, really set fire. We had this 90-day challenge. Aaron was guiding majority of the 90-day challenge. And again, the law of the few popped up. I think there was over 130 people on the first call that committed. There's less than 10, I think, or 15 maybe, that got through the full 90 days of doing the submissions every single week. It just happens in life. Every person wants a diamond lifestyle. Every person wants to live life on their terms. But unfortunately, not everyone's prepared to do what it takes. In the 90-day challenge, the 130 people, yay, I'm gung-ho. This is it for me. You finish up, you get 10 that complete the task. The events calendar. Now, go back to your events calendar in your local market or the corporate events. Spend a bit of time of where your business is geographically positioned and go and have a look at events in those areas. In Australia, specifically, we've got on our Jeunesse Global South Pacific website every single event pretty much for the rest of the year all around Australia. Commit to as many events as possible. I always say to people that the most engaged people are the people that turn up to the most events. The people that turn up to the most events make the most money because they really use that as their promotion strategy to build their business. In regards to vision, call and share your excitement of what's happening with Jeunesse, what's happening in regards to the launch of Instantly Ageless around the world, what's happening in regards to, when the company does an Exec Connect update, and you hear all these amazing growth stories. Make sure that you can share that vision with absolute passion. And this is really important because if you can share your vision to your leaders and your leaders can share their vision to their leaders, and, that is where you can catch fire. Talking about the annual Melbourne conference, we've hit our target. It got sold out. I was doing an event in Melbourne last night. We had 220 people. I lost count of how many people have missed out on tickets, which is disappointing, but it's also a good thing. Last year we had 480 people at the event. This year we thought, look, let's make a bold move of getting a room to fit 1,000 in. We filled that, and next year we'll aim for a 2,000 plus event. Conferences are where you can catch the vision. In Australia, it's been a couple of years, but we have the pleasure this time of having the owners come out. We've got the best corporate executive in the business, Scott Lewis, and his wife Isabel coming out. We've got Dr. Newman, first time in Australia with Jeunesse, and may never come back again. There's 120 markets screaming out for Dr. Newman, and he's made his way down to Australia. This is where you feel the heartbeat of the company at these big events, whether it's the Melbourne event, annual conference, or it's the one that is in your specific market. I know I was just at the Philippine launch of Instantly Ageless. There's over 1,000 people there, standing room only. People couldn't even get into the building. The same happened in Korea, Japan, Mexico. There was 2,500 people. Japan, 2,500 people. UK, a few thousand people. This is happening all around the world. If you're in that UK area, you make that your Melbourne conference. If you're in Mexico, you make that your Melbourne conference. It's really important because I always share this story. One of my first mentors said, Craig, if you want to build a business, get as many people to the annual conference as you possibly can, because that's where they saw the vision. I'll share my story with you. I took 10 people to my first international convention. 6 people at that international convention saw enough vision to commit to the business. They didn't have the vision that I had, but they had enough vision to work on a 2 to 3 year plan to get to full-time income to fire their boss. Because I had 6 of those 10 got to that level, that allowed me to achieve my vision of achieving rockstar or absolute life-changing income. And that's what can happen. So every year I always have if it's a big university or my 2 big national events, I build absolutely everything around these 2 major events. And that's a really, really, really key point. So the same with your market, whether it's in the US, there's people all over the world here at the moment, so I'm not going to go onto every single market, but make sure you go and find out when your main event is for the year and build everything around that. The following month is always what I call the capitalization on convention. So I have all my leaders driving people to the national conference to fill the room, to take advantage of the promo pack, and then the month after it's just, or sorry, the month of, so this convention's on this weekend, around the 9th of May. The rest of May, it's just full tilt. We want to see people capitalizing on the promotional package. We want to see rank advancement. So if someone's at a 50 cycle business, I'm setting them a target to hit the Sapphire Elite to rank advance, or if they're over Sapphire Elite, I want them to rank advance to Ruby, and they're focusing on that. All the leaders start emerging. Last year was my favorite month in the history of network marketing. It was the month of August that followed our convention. It was a month that I achieved my ultimate goal that I've been dreaming of for the best part of 5 years, becoming a diamond director in Jeunesse. Even pre-Jeunesse, I just wanted to be at that level in the business. It was diamond in Jeunesse. But, it was just a month of energy. We had people breaking off rank advancements all over the place. Everyone really does drive from the hype of the event. June and July in this month, you really want to ride momentum. We're going to focus on more meetings. We want those leaders now that have rank advanced to really establish their group so they can make that an every month type of title. They're focusing on growth. They're being consistent and persistent. They are driving numbers to the second major event of the year. So in Australia, we have a convention and a university, 2 big events a year. So we've got June, July before that event. So you've got a 60-day focus on driving as many people to that as possible. We've also got in the background the month after focusing on Singapore, which is your international convention. It's the show of the year of Jeunesse. Last year in Macau, 15,000 packed stadium. It was electric, giving away 5 Mercedes-Benz. This is where Jeunesse exposed the heartbeat of the company. And my 2 national events are really 2, I guess, events that I'm really saying, hey, you want to look at something on turbocharge, you got to drive to the international convention. You get a little bit of a theme happening here of what I'm saying. These big showcasing events are where people see the vision. Where people see the vision and they get belief, that's when they can go on and build a business. Action August. This is like a repeat month of May. Remember, I was talking about the month of May. It was a big event. There was promo packs. Then the rest of that month, we were rank advancing, driving leaders. People were setting bold tasks and trying to achieve their biggest commissions ever so they can build their story, build their belief, find new leaders. It is exact duplication of the month with the national convention. We've got our university, and this month will actually be important to carry the momentum right through the final part of the year of your game plan. Singapore, we touched on this. This is sort of, I guess, it's probably more important than the national events in lots of ways because people have got a bigger stake in the game when they go to the international convention. But I use my 2 national events because it's more local. You get more people in your business at it. For the visionaries, the law of the few of those 2 to make sure that they really have Singapore or wherever it is. Last year it was Macau or up on their wall. So this is what a really important month. People have got really 2 big months left in them. October, November. December is always a month where people start winding down. So we want to make sure we get all the way to the finish line. Always traditionally a pretty good month. It's following on our national international convention, which seems to be September every year. When I look at my 3 years in the business, October, November have always been really, really solid following on from that. And December, right to the finish line. Finish off your great work and your commitment to the game plan. For us in Australia, we have a Christmas show tour which really finishes mid-December. So we still are working right up to mid-December, and then really the last 10 days before Christmas, New Year period, and the first week of January, we have a bit of a shutdown in regards to running live events, but we are focused on getting right to the finish line. Give it your best shot possible. You don't want to be in a situation where you pull up stumps halfway through November, then everyone else is pulling up stumps getting closer to the Christmas period, and then your business is really in shutdown from a growth perspective for nearly two months. So it's really important to go right to the finish line. If you're going to give and make 2015 your best month ever, or your best year ever, you really need to push right through. Some important notices: whether the new products are launched, doesn't matter when new products are launched, doesn't matter when any big announcements are announced. My game plan really doesn't change. If I was living in the UK now, I would have been centering everything in April as what I am in May. Would have been just different, because that's when their major launch event was on. So my game plan is built around the two big national events in Australia. Our international events absolutely paramount, and then I have all our localized events that we're working in between to drive numbers to those three, I guess, big things. So game plan never ever changes, because really, whether we've got new products or not, or we got new marketing tools or not, my vision never deviates. I see where Jeunesse is heading. I see that this company is in mass momentum. I see that this is changing people's lives all around the world. I'm seeing people that have never had success in this industry have incredible success, or what I always refer to as paid their fair market worth. People that haven't had success are now having some form of success. People that have had moderate success are now doing better than they ever have. People that have got real talent, they're now earning what they are getting is their fair market worth. So this is really allowing people to earn what they're really worth in the industry in regards to their commitment, their effort, and their skill set. Really important things to consider: always have a goal to always enroll. 2 to 6 new people every single month. Leaders, you are trying to enroll people until you get 6 strong Sapphire Elite quality. They don't have to be Sapphire Elites, but Sapphire Elite quality. Now, what do I refer to as Sapphire Elite quality? They have become a Jeunesse expert. They can recite the comp plan, everything about every product. They know where all the events are. They're Jeunesse expert, gurus of Jeunesse. And what they're doing, probably at least 15 hours a week in the business. They've got a default to enroll somewhere between 50 and 80 people. That's a type of person I classify as a Sapphire Elite quality. Focus on having a record every single month. You look at the corporate world, if they have a 10% growth in a calendar year, they call it, wow, we had a double-digit growth year. In Jeunesse, for me, a 10, 20, 30% is not out of the equation every single month in Jeunesse, and that can capitalize on top of each other, and your business won't grow in a linear line, it will grow exponentially. Print off the events calendar and commit to it. So go and have a look at where all your leaders are. So you might have some international leaders. Find out then when, if they're based in Singapore, find out when the events are going to be in Singapore. Find out when if you've got leaders in the Philippines, where they are. If you've got leaders in the US, find out where all their events calendar is. Your travel for your business really depends on where your leadership is. For me, I travel to Asia 2, 3, 4 times a year because I've got good business there. I travel to the US now 2 to 3 times a year because I've got good business there. I travel to where my business is actually performing, not traveling somewhere for the sake of it. Occasionally I roll the dice and go to a new market where I've got some fresh leads and leaders, but they're not really established, and I'll roll the dice. But I have a bit of a budget to do it, and I'm really nearly gambling in a way in that sense, because they haven't necessarily achieved what my expectation would be. But I can see something in there, and I really want to commit to having good business in that market. So that, guys, I always say stick with what works. The other stuff is just not really worth the trouble. Remember the law of the few. You remember, if you've enrolled 10 people, have an expectation that 2 of those 10 may go on with this business. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's proven more times than not that really is the case. So, guys, thank you for this week's diamond training. I have recorded this, so we will post this as per normal. And for the Australian guys, look forward to seeing you over the next few days at convention. For the internationals, I hope to see you on the tour, or if not at international convention. I'm also going to Dubai for the launch next week. I'm also off to the UK to do a couple of events in September, and back for a tour of the US in November. So I'm around, so I'm traveling, living life on my terms. I love what I do. I love training as many people as possible. Janess is moving fast. Don't miss the boat. We look forward to seeing you all out there. I will just hang online. I'm just going to shut off the recording, give myself 60 seconds to have a quick drink, but I will answer a couple of questions for 5 minutes. So give us a 60-second break and we'll be back shortly.